classmate, jailmate, and brother, the New York City public advocate, Jamani Williams. We are also joined by the president and founder of the Crisis Action Center, Reverend Kevin McCall, as well as other leaders and educators on the forefront of educational reform in our city. Our message is simple. The lack of diversity at our specialized high schools is an atrocious and unacceptable reality. But the elimination of a test does not resolve the systemic problems that have resulted in the lack of diversity at our specialized high schools. We're here today to send a clear message that we should use this moment. We should seize upon this moment and reflect as a city about what systemic reforms and transformation is required throughout our educational system. Let us not focus on the handful of our students who are exceptional, who are self-driven, and who are already successful, and divide our city along racial lines in that very parochial and myopic debate. Let's use this moment not to talk about the elite 7%, but let's use this moment to talk about our most vulnerable and our most at-risk 93%. Let's not just talk about how we fix a problem for the elite few, because indeed we need to fix the problem. Let's talk about how we fix the problem for 100% of our students. Our message is clear. We need systemic transformation and reform. We need to double the number of specialized high schools in our city. We need to expand gifted and talented programs into every district in our city. We need to institutionalize and fully fund test prep in every middle school and every intermediate school in our city. We need to cut class size and hire more teachers. We need guidance counselors in every grade. There are reforms that we can implement right now within the purview of this city that will affect tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of our children. Let's not sacrifice this opportunity at reform to focus on the elite few. Let us use the atrocious and unacceptable lack of diversity at our specialized high schools as an opportunity to build the political will and courage that is necessary to change a system that has been failing our students for decades. You don't solve a systemic problem by erasing a test. You solve a systemic problem by fixing the system. It is my proud honor and pleasure and privilege to ask to join us at the podium to speak now a man that has overcome tremendous personal obstacles, that has established a progressive vision for our city, and that has done something extraordinary as an elected official. He's held true to his word and who he was before he got elected. Let's hear now from our New York City public advocate, Jamani Williams.
Thank you,
my brother Kirsten John Floyd, I first want to say I'm not here to argue with any other leaders. I'm here for us both together to be screaming at the system.
That's right.
I am thankful that whatever position people are on this, at least we're having a discussion about discrepancy in the system. If we took away the SAT, if we even took away all 8 of the specialized high schools, do you know what we would have? We would have the most segregated school system in the United States of America.
That's right.
We have a system that shows that black and brown students are performing below proficiency on math and English right now.
That's right.
Without the SAT, without the specialized high school. Right now, the system is failing, and it has nothing to do with the SAT and nothing to do with the 8 specialized high schools. And that is why some of us are so adamant that we don't fall victim for a red herring that takes resources and focuses on 8 schools, 3 of which the mayor and the city have absolutely no control over at all, while ignoring all of the rest of the system.
That's right.
Including the top tier multiple criteria school that they have full control over.
That's right.
And many of those top tier multiple criteria schools, like Eleanor Roosevelt, are the most least diverse schools in the system. So why is it that you are spending so much time on what you have no control over while completely ignoring what you do? Another reason is that I myself went to Brooklyn Technical High School with my brother Kirsten. And I have to tell you, and we share a story alike, if they had used any other criteria at all, we would not have gotten into those.
That's correct.
If they looked at my grades,
that's right,
my behavior,
that's right.
I cut my first class in 8th grade.
Talk about it.
If they looked at attendance, any combination of things,
that's right. That's right.
I would not have got into Brooklyn Tech.
That's right.
And it would have changed the whole trajectory of my educational experience and possibly the trajectory of my life. We have another friend, Keith White. He's an attorney at CCC. He tells a story of how he was slated to be left back in the 8th grade because he did so poorly. He would have been left back in the 8th grade, except for one thing. He decided to take the tech test. He passed it. And that one thing prevented him from getting left back in the 8th grade. The other thing that we keep ignoring is when we went to high school, over 50% of the students in Brooklyn Tech were black and Latino.
That's right.
Why do we keep pretending like that was not what it is in the 1990s?
That's right.
We are jumping ahead without asking the question, what happened? Did black and brown children get dumber? Are you saying they're too dumb to take this test and pass?
That's right.
That is absolutely false and a narrative that I refuse to accept. These knee-jerk reactions are what got us here in the first place. In the 90s, there was a whole big question about tracking.
That's right.
And tracking does have some negatives that we have to address. But we didn't do that. We decided to start getting rid of all the gifted and talented schools in our system, including the one we both attended in junior high school, which was the biggest feeder of black and Latino kids into Brooklyn Tech.
That's correct.
There is a direct connection between getting rid of those programs and the black and Latino student absence in these specialized high schools, and we cannot ignore that.
That's right.
That is why this plan of bringing back gifted and talented schools, bringing back more schools in the system is a better plan. Because if you look at all of the data, even without this test, black and Latino students are not performing math and science the way they should have.
That's right.
They are also not taking the SHSAT.
That's right.
look at the data. We do not have to pit community against community.
That's right.
The Asian community deserve a quality education. I'm happy that they found a system that worked. Don't get mad at them because they found a system and they worked it to the best of their ability.
Right.
They are taking the test far more than any other community in this city. And part of that is why you see so many Asian students in these schools. And now is the time for leadership. To the mayor and everyone else. Leadership says that you can find a solution that does not divide the community.
That's right.
That does not divide people against themselves for minimal resources when we can provide more resources to make sure everyone has access.
Absolutely.
And lastly, and this is just my piece, I have said that I cannot accept any plan that gets rid of the SHSAT. But I put forth a possibility of 2 access points. This is all about access points to quality education, from multiple criteria to specialized high school. We can have access points for some people who can show what they can do, the multiple criteria. But why do we have to provide an access point by taking away an access point that would have left out so many people like myself, like Keith, and like Kirsten? It is unnecessary and it is not leadership. It is divisive politics at its worst. And this is the time that people will remember who was able to step up, provide the leadership that the city needed, or who took the divisive policy, divisive stance, and showed the worst of politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. King would be appalled at knowing that in the name of diversity, in the name of inclusion, that the city of New York would take from one hardworking, enterprising community of color to give to another community of color. Dividing along racial lines is an unacceptable practice, whether it's done and emanating from the White House or whether it's done and emanating from City Hall. We are not going to allow the lack of vision, the lack of innovation, the lack of courage and political will, or even the lack of focus on your job because you want another job, to interfere with a drive and a movement for deep and broad and systemic educational reform that benefits hundreds of thousands of our students and not just a handful of our best and our brightest. There is no division among us. We are one city. We are one people. We all love and care about our children. We all want to maximize opportunity for our children. We all want our children to have the best education. But I refuse to allow the city, in the name of diversity, to destroy the concept of equity for all. I refuse to allow the city, in the name of diversity,